Okay, so this lesson basically relates to what I've been talking to you about, how a root tells you how many groups you're trying to make, or like groups of 3, groups of 2, groups of whatever. So we're going to look at this in 2 directions. The first direction, and I would always look for this first. Radical form means my answer should have a root of some sort in it. Okay, so if it says in radical form, that means I should see that radical sign, that square root, cube root, whatever. The other thing, I've shown you up here how stuff relates, but essentially you have your exponent over your root. Okay, when you're looking at your fraction, that's what's going on. Top number is the exponent of whatever your base is, bottom number is the root, like I've been saying. Okay, if it's 3, we're doing groups of 3, 2, groups of 2. That's why I said this lesson would have made more sense to do earlier. So all we're doing right now is we're going to take these examples and literally put them into radical form. So today is just practicing switching between the 2. So if I'm looking at this, what type of root is number 1? A what? It's a cube root, okay? The 3 tells me it's a cube. And what's underneath? X to the 4th. So that's how they relate. Sometimes you could see it where you have the x all to the 4th. These are all the same thing. Okay, the best answer and the answer I'm looking for is this one that the parentheses are unnecessary, so keep it without. On number 2, why do you think the 2y is in parentheses? Where's it all going to go? It's all going to, what did you say? It's all going to go in the root. Since it's all grouped and it's all raised to the 1/3, that means x cube root 2y. You could leave it in parentheses, but since it's a first power, I don't. What do you think number 3 is going to be? Yep. 5th root. If you want to write b to the 1st, you can. You don't have to have the 1 there, though. So that's a good question. On number 4, is it in parentheses? No. So what's the exponent on the x? It's a 1. If there's nothing there, it's an exponent of 1, right? So is the x in the root at all? No. If the x doesn't have a fraction, it's outside. What kind of root does the z have? Which number is the root? Cube root z squared. So unless it's in parentheses, I would make sure you give it a 1 so you remember that it's outside of the root. Okay, if I wanted that x inside, I would have put it in the parentheses or I would have given it a 3rd. Why don't you guys go ahead and do 5 through 8? So let's talk about these. What did you guys think for 5? That's because I'm not creative and apparently want to make the same example as number 3. How about 6? It's a 4 on the outside. Z to the 3rd. Why is this 4 the root? It's the bottom number. Okay, so remember, this is saying take 3 z's into groups of 4. We always talk about that bottom number being how I want to group them. The 3, the exponent was really a 1, so that stayed outside. Okay, what type of root is 7? Square root. Okay, it says groups of 2. Y to the 3rd. Can I simplify that? I can have a y on the outside. So if you think about y, I can make a pair out of that. So I have y square root, what's left? Y. So that's still radical form. The radical is still there. It's just simplified. Okay, none of these other ones, I can't make a group of 4 with only 3. I can't make a group of 5 with only 1. So that's the first one we've been able to simplify. Okay, for the next one, what type of root is it? It's a 5th root. 3x squared. Make sure you keep it in parentheses. If you don't keep it in parentheses, you're going to forget that that squared goes to both pieces. Can I actually do 3x squared? Yeah. What's 3 squared? 9x squared. 9 will not break into anything in groups of 5, same with x squared. So that would be your final answer. So just like always, with square roots, make sure they are simplified as much as possible. Now, these next ones, technically, what could you do for every single one of these? Type it in. How come you could type every single one of these in? There are numbers. I keep trying to drill in your head. If it's a number, type it in. Okay. Even 15 and 16. Because you could type in 1/16 in parentheses to the 1/4 power. If I wanted to change them to roots, what type of root would number 9 be? If I wanted to write that as a root instead, it'd be cube root 125. So you could use your cube root button, but you could also raise it to the 1/3 power. Just make sure if you're doing that, you're putting parentheses. Because otherwise it's going to raise it to the 1st power and then to the 3rd power. What? 5. It's 5. So just like always, if you have numbers that seem like they could be typed in and checked, type them in and check them. Okay, what is number 10 as a root? Square root of 64, which is just 8. I do want to just look at number 11 with you and how you would write it as a root. It might be hard to tell in your paper, but it's 32 to the negative 1/5. What do you think I would have to do first so that I wouldn't have a negative exponent? Let's say I don't want to type it in. I just want to set it up as a root. Where do I move it if it has a negative exponent? Underneath. So technically this is 1/32 to the 1/5, which is the same thing as 1/5 root of 32. So if you're going to type it in as a root, you would have to do 1 divided by 5th root of 32. It's just numbers, so you could just type in 32 to the negative 1/5 in parentheses. Either way, when you type one of those in, what do you get? 1/2. Thank you for not saying 0.5. Okay, I want you guys to go ahead and do 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. You can just type it in. You don't have to switch it to roots unless you want to. Okay, what'd you guys get for 14? A 9. 15? Half. 16? With 14, it's really important you have the parentheses around the negative 27 because otherwise it's going to raise 27 to negative 2/3 and not the negative. So make sure if it has parentheses, you're typing the parentheses. We okay on that? Go ahead, turn the page. It's not very hard. So this page, we still want to be in radical form. Okay, so I still want square roots in my problem. So first thing you have to do is change it to a square root, then see if you can simplify. Okay. What would 17 change into? Instead of 16x to the 1/4. Close. Fourth root, 16x. Do I need to keep the parentheses? You could, but because it's to the fourth, sorry, to the first, I don't really need to. It's going to change it with 16. Okay, can I fourth root 16? Try. Okay. You want to do it the long way, it's 2 and 8. But you could have just typed it in as well. There is a fourth root 16. How about x? Can I make a group of 4 x's? So 2's outside, x inside. That's it. I'm going to do the left side problem, so the odds with you, and then have you do the evens on your own. I'm doing the problems. Okay, so 19. First thing I need to do, change it to a root. What type of root? Fifth root. Do I need parentheses? Yes. 81 x, y. So let's go ahead and actually, what is 81 squared? It is a big number. I don't think it's 20 is going to be.
I would do it, but it's over
81 squared. Anybody? Thank you. 6, 5, 6, 1. How about my letters? What are they? X squared, y squared. So I need to break down 6, 5, 6. You could try typing it in. You're going to have to break it down anyway, so let's just save the time. What goes into 6,561? 3. 2 does not go in. It's not even right. 3 times 2187. Goes into that.
729.
3 and 729. 3 and 243. Hey, at least the numbers are getting smaller. 81 is 9. You won't need much space on 21 and 22, so if you go into that area, it's quite a lot. I will tell you 19 and 20 are the ones that need the most. Okay, groups of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How about my x's? Can I make a group of 5? How about my y's? Can I make a group of 5? Okay, so what would my final answer be on this one? 3, fifth root. 27, because 3 times 3 times 3. X squared, y squared. So the whole unit is different ways of giving you a square root problem that you have to then simplify and break down. So far, that's most of the unit. 21, are they the same type of root?
Yes.
Yes, that means I can put them both under, right, and leave them together. They're both fifth roots. What's underneath the root? X to the third, y to the first. You don't have to have the 1.
One question.
Yes.
If they weren't the same, would it be not possible?
No, because if you had, like, let's say x to the 3/5 and y to the 1/4, technically you could say that's fifth root x cubed times fourth root y. You would just have to keep them separate. So if your roots are different, keep them separate for the times dot. Okay, so you guys agree I can't make groups of X's or Y's? Neither of those get right. Okay, 23. They're both fourth roots. Can I stop there? Break your X's and Y's down doing whatever method. If you've been doing the remainder method, do that. If you've been doing the write it out method, do that. Huh?
Don't judge my methods.
If you are writing it out, the best advice I can give you, you know they're going to have to be groups of 4. So as you count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. At least group them in groups of 4 as you go.
That's how I'm doing.
Just saying, other people might want to know that.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Exactly.
Share that knowledge. I'll let you guys figure out the whys. Some people were asking me another way to do the remainder other than what I showed you on the calculator before, so I want to show you that real quick. So let's say I want to do the y, so I want to do 19 divided by 4. Oh, not 119. 19 divided by 4. So how many whole times is it going? 4. So if I do, I have 19, so 19 minus my 4 groups of 4. So 19 minus the 4 groups, I grouped them by 4, you have a 3 remainder. Okay, so for my y's, probably the 4th is going to come outside, whereas the 3rd will stay inside. So what would my final answer look like? What's outside?
X to the 5th, Y to the 4th.
X to the 5th, y to the 4th.
X to the 3rd, Y to the 3rd.
Again, I don't care how you're getting your letters done, just whatever you need to do. I'm going to have you do the 3 on the right on your own, but I want to show you something really quick because you would overthink it otherwise. On 22, can I simplify these 2 fractions? Can I actually do 18 divided by 2 and 16 divided by 2?
Yes.
Yeah. What is 18 divided by 2? What is 16 divided by 2? Are there any fractions left? So do I need to root them at all? No. That is still considered simplest radical form. There just isn't a radical left. Okay? But it's not an exponent form because there's no fractional exponent. So that is a good simplified answer. I want you guys to go ahead and do, thank you, 18, 20, and 24. Did you guys have when you changed 18?
3 cube root X.
That was your final answer?
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 cube root X. Yeah, because cube root of 27 is just 3. Number 20, before you decided you hated me, what was it when you switched it to a root? So, just your first step.
Cube root parentheses 6xy 7.
Cube root 6xy to the 7th, like that?
Parentheses.
Parentheses. Yeah, it wouldn't be mean enough otherwise. So that's cube root. What number is that, Sabrina?
7, 9.
Okay. Then you broke it down. You had a whole lot of 2s and a whole lot of 3s, right? Those of you who got through the breakdown, you survived. What came out? A 36. What stayed in? 6. We okay there? If you persevered, you should have a 36 and a 6. Okay, for my letters. Let's shift this over. For my letters, how many X's came out? 2. And 2 Y's as well. What's left inside? 6. I'm going to show you again with number 24 how you can use the calculator. Did you have questions? So 24, I want to do 35 thirds, 27 thirds. I do want to switch it to a root if possible. Do either of those numbers divide nicely? 35 over 3 or 27 over 3? 27 over 3 is 9. So I have x to the 35 thirds, y to the 9. So technically, isn't that the same thing as y to the 9th cube root x to the 35th? Yeah. Because you wouldn't put the root first, because then it might look like the y's underneath. So put the y at the beginning, since it's definitely outside because it has no fraction. If you want to do the 35 thirds in your calculator, again, if you just type in 35 divided by 3, goes in 11 whole times. Do 35 minus 3 times 11. 35 minus my groups of 3, I had 11 of them. Gives me a 2. So what are those numbers telling me? What's the 11 telling me? How many times it went nicely in. So how many are coming outside, and the 2 is how many stay. So 11 is outside, 2 is inside. So x to the 11th, outside, we still have the y to the 9th. And we said it was how many x's left? Okay, we have reached the last page. Last page is what?
Remember when you said it wasn't that hard to translate that, so you said that.
Was it hard though? Did you survive?
Yeah.
Did you know what to do without me telling you what to do?
Nope.
You didn't want to do it, but you knew what to do. Okay, so what's different in these directions? They're in the root. I want them in exponent form for both of these. So obviously on like the next quiz and the test, it's important you actually read the directions to make sure you know which form you're looking for. Okay, so 25. What would that be as an exponent? So x to the 3rd into groups of 2. That's the part we've kind of already done. I talked to you about how you're looking at it as this many into how many groups. Okay, for 26, what's the exponent on the m? 1. So I want that 1m into groups of 3. How about 27? Okay, so someone besides Zach, why does it have to be in parentheses?
Because a lot of the time.
It goes with 5 and y. They're both under the root, so they both stay in parentheses. If you don't put them in parentheses, that means one of them wasn't in root. Yes, technically you could do 5 to the 1/2, y to the 1/2 of the square root. As a group is the best answer. Why did I do 1/2? This is a 5y to the 1st. Square root is groups of 2 if you need to put the 2. Okay, for 28, I can't do parentheses on 28. Y has a different exponent. On 27, the 5 was to the 1st power, so was the y, so I group them. On 28, I have two different exponents going on, so I can't put parentheses because they don't share an exponent. So what would 28 become? 2 to the, what? 1/3, y to the 2/3. Is there any part of that you think I should double check? You could check cube root of 2. 2 to the 1/3. It doesn't change. So we would leave it. So, and I'll just leave these with you so we can finish faster. For 29. What do you think 29 is going to be? Okay, it's 4 on the bottom. It's a 4th root. Well, how many are there? Think about it this way. 4th root of b to the 3rd, isn't that this? 4th root of b, 4th root of b, 4th root of b. Right? 4th root of b times itself 3 times. How many b's is that? Remember on that front page, I told you that 4th root of b all to the 3rd is the same thing as 4th root of b to the 3rd. So it doesn't matter if the exponent's out or in. How about 30? What should 30 be? What type of root is 30? It's a square root. Okay, so I have -6. I have a square root. How many -6's do I have? Just 1. I did something wrong though. I need the parentheses because the negative's under the root as well. If I don't put parentheses, if I gave you this, that'd be saying it's a negative square root of 6. So the parentheses matter. How about 31? If I just want to, like, straightforward, so 6a to the 4th into groups of what? 2. Can I divide 4 and 2? What's 4 divided by 2? What is it? 4 divided by 2 is 2. Technically, I could go a little further even with that. What's 6 squared? Technically, that is the most simplified. Numbers, we still just let either. What are we thinking on 32? If you want to, you can try doing 5 to the 3/4. 5ab to the 3/4. Because it was grouped underneath to begin with, I would keep it grouped. Okay, so I'm going to do a similar thing to what I did before and do a couple of these with you down the left and then have you do the ones down the right. On 33. Do they all have the same exponent? They all have the same root. But do they have the same exponent underneath? I have a 1, a 4, and a 7. So can I group them? Or do I have to keep them separated? I have to keep them separated. So this would be 8 to the 1/3. X to the 4/3. Y to the 7/3. They're all being put into groups of 3. They're all being cube rooted, but they have different exponents. Can I type in 8 to the 1/3 and see if it works? Yeah. Always check your numbers. Is there a cube root of 8? 2. Okay. My letters, since I'm not in root form, that's as good as it gets. My letters are going to stay fractions as long as they're reduced fractions. How about 35? What power would 16 be to? It's 2 to the first, so when I put it all together, it's 16 to the 1/2, so it's a square root. X to the, I'm gonna write this, we are gonna end up 4/2. Y to the, I always do this first and then reduce, because if you reduce wrong, I want to be able to see where it came from. What's 16 to the 1/2? 4. Square root of 16 is 4. Be careful, because some of you are going to start thinking, okay, 16 to the 1/2, that would be 8. 8 is not the square root of 16. So square root of 16 is 4. X to the 4 over 2, does that reduce? 2. Does 11 over 2 reduce? Obviously, exponent form is pretty useless. Okay, 37. Who wants to tell me what they think that would turn into just when I take it out? 60 to the 1 over 4. X to 11 over 4. Try typing in 60 to the 1/4. Did it work? So I'm done. That's why I said most of the time we're getting out of the exponents and into radicals. Okay? Finally, 39. I want someone who I haven't heard from. So not Zach, or Nita, or Jalen, or Sabrina.
Yeah, you got it.
I'm taking volunteers. It just has to be.
I'm gonna try.
Okay, go for it, Brianna. You got it.
So
125, what's the exponent? 3 is going to be my groups. How many of the 125s do I have? You can leave them. Okay, X will be 13 groups of 3, and Y, 18 over 3. Okay, anyone, it can be Brianna, it can be anyone else. Can you do 125 to the 1/3? What is it? Can I divide 13 and 3? Can I divide 18 and 3? This. Okay, so you're going to do those last 4 problems. When you're done, bring it up. I will give you the homework.
what did you do? When you did this, how did you check this?
I might throw a couple of other topics on there. Your second quiz of the unit will be next Thursday. It'll be on this stuff and we'll be on Tuesday. And I may put some of the old stuff on there because the quizzes went so poorly. So you will have a chance at redemption. These answers are not posted because I haven't done my answer to you when I do. It's not going to be much work shown. It's not much work shown. Yes. When is it? When is this weekend? When is this? We love to take them.
How do you say the second song when it's supposed to be the first one? Exactly. What?
Ask you guys, give me 1 second to stop the recording so that my 7th grade isn't watching the board just sit there.